pew 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 pew.
There we go. What is happening, gang? It's episode 350 of Pass the Gravy, and we got another Quarantine Monday episode for you. And today I brought on a very special guest. He is the commissioner of my fantasy football league at work, the host of the Matt Thomas Show on Sports Talk 790 from noon to 3 on weekdays. He is the P.A announcer for the Rockets and the play-by-play guy for Rockets Roads game. Pretty much the guy does everything. It's Matt Thomas. What's happening, man?
Now, here's the issue. I've known about Pass the Gravy for a long time.
Uh-huh.
And you just said this is episode 350.
350.
What happened to the invites that say 146 or 209?
I don't know. You're like a big major market radio host. I thought you might big time me, so I was a little nervous.
Let me tell you. I'm personally happy for your success, but I'm still pissed off that you're not working on our station. I know that 94.5, you make more money, you get more airtime.
It'd help.
People like you, but we still miss you.
Yeah, I worked with Matt forever when I was on the AM side. When did you come over to 790?
January of 2010.
So yeah, I worked, and I think I went to Rod Ryan's show for like 2015. So yeah, that was 5 years I was working with you. We were doing you used to do the Astros games, the post games when they were the worst team historically in baseball for 3 consecutive years. And I loved just like listening to you in your home studio when someone would call with the worst drunk take on a Friday or Saturday night. And Matt Thomas is my favorite thing you do in radio is just.
Yeah, I'm the king of the exasperation because during those times, you're talking about several lousy years. How about 3 of them with 100 losses in a row? So there is no doubt in my mind I had to take extra breaths. I had to maybe have a beer or 2 or 7, especially when way back in the day when the games were on News Radio 740, which they are now, but we used to do post-game shows.
Uh-huh.
We would do them even after West Coast games, which meant after an Astros 9-1 drubbing by the Padres.
It took like 6 hours.
Yeah, it's awful.
Brad Peacock, I don't care what that guy's up to. Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy because him and
go way worse. I mean,
Lucas Harrell.
That was not a good stuff.
Remember Jared Cosart? We were like all high up on how good Jared Cosart was going to be, and he's not even on the team anymore. And he had like 1 good outing, and it was like, cool, we finally got a good pitcher. No.
Or how about this, Alex? Matt Dominguez wanted serious cash to play third base. Got offered a deal. They said no. He said no, not good enough, and now he's in a van down by the river.
Those were like, I hated baseball for about 3 years. I hated baseball just because it was like those games just took forever. But we don't have to talk about how bad the Astros were. They're good now. They're good now.
That's right.
And we're here to talk about you. We're here to talk about you because you do like literally every job in radio. You've hosted pretty much every kind of post game you could, right?
Yeah, that's
Football, basketball, baseball. Nothing like you lived in Minnesota, right? Did you do any hockey stuff?
I started working in Houston in 1991 as an intern and kind of an overnight producer / board operator. We're like manning the controls of a small AM station, and then worked my way up to getting in front of the glass to do some shows, and then moved over as part of a merger in 2000, and then was with KTRH, really not even KBME, which is we are now. That was a music station when I came over to KTRH, and then I left in 2004. I'm trying to think, 4 or 5, and then moved to Minneapolis in 2007, and then came back to Houston in 2010. So yeah, Salt Lake City, Minneapolis, and been back here since January 2010.
What would you prefer between Utah and Minneapolis?
Well, it's funny because all 3 cities are so dramatically different.
Yeah.
Weather-wise, first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
I loved being a quote-unquote big fish in a small pond. Salt Lake was, at the time, probably media market number 37, 38. It's bumped up a few spots. It's way more cosmopolitan than it was when I was there because I go back when the Rockets play the Jazz. If you're not a member of the LDS religion, it's very difficult to live there. So we ran through not problems, but sometimes exclusion because we were not a part of their faith. And so when a state is dominated by one religion, it makes life difficult. Now, I was doing the University of Utah game, so I was able to meet some people and hang out with some different groups of people where my wife was not doing the games, obviously. She was staying home raising our young family, so it was very difficult for her. And then I had a really bad work experience to wrap things up there, which made things even worse. And then took the job in Minneapolis. Never have gone to Minneapolis before except for a couple of visits, and really fell in love with the city. Great sports community, Minneapolis and St. Paul. I lived in St. Paul, which is more of a family, not necessarily blue collar, but more middle class part of the area, and lived right in the inner city, which was a lot of fun because I've never done it before. I've lived in the suburbs in Houston all my life, whether it was Katy or where I am now in Kingwood. And really enjoyed that. I was there for 3 years. The biggest problem, really the only problem that precluded me from staying in Minneapolis, St. Paul, was the weather, because it's awful for like 8 months. 4 months, Alex, of awesomeness. 8 months of it's pathetically, ridiculously, bone-chilling cold. I'm talking minus 13, minus 15 temperatures. Snow that falls in November doesn't melt until April or May. It sucks.
Gets old fast. The snow seemed cool, I bet, when you first moved. I guess you had snow in Utah, but like.
Oh yeah, but at least in Utah, Alex, they had seasons. In Minneapolis, it's really hot, or you're going to get frostbite cold. Yeah. And that was just the dramatic temperature change was too much. And here's the thing: people from Minnesota, they don't want to hear from other people from other parts of the country that they don't like the weather, because they've grown up in it, so they're used to it. They have no interest in hearing from you about how much you didn't like their weather.
So there's no nobody's like, man, it's cold out there. Like there's never like nobody's bitching about that up there.
No. I remember one time, you're not gonna believe this. Probably 7 or 8 days of like 8 or 9 degrees. It got up to 35 one day, and I went outside in shorts and a t-shirt and was like, my God, this is the best weather ever. 42 to 43 degree temperature change is pretty dramatic. Going from like 50 to 93.
Right.
From minus 8 to 32, about the same feeling of warmth.
Okay, so this popped in my head. My girlfriend has a cousin that lives out in Utah, and he was talking to me at one Christmas about they have just wild horses just running around there. Is that did you ever see any of those? Is that true?
I lived in the Salt Lake City area, so that was, the biggest city in the state, hands down. It was the state capital. It probably had, I think the whole state at the time that I was living there had about a little over 2 million residents. I think 1.5 million of them lived in Salt Lake City. So you'd have to go further south. From Salt Lake to Las Vegas is about a 6-hour drive, which I might have done once or twice. And so as the further you went in the state, south in the state, the more you saw areas of, very small communities, and as you said, roaming horses and whatnot. It was also part of the fun of trying to dispel the notion that there were polygamous communities, which there were in the southern part of the state, say 50, 75, 100 years ago, but not the case anymore, I don't think. But yeah, if you got into Salt Lake City, you would love it. I don't know if you've ever been there before, but it's a beautiful city, lots of great skiing, good restaurants, very nice people. But going to visit there and living there are two different things.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I don't know why I just get sidetracked very easily on this show. That's kind of a thing. Bobby hates it, but it happens. But
does Bobby ask questions during this, or does he just sit and look at us?
He's free to ask any question he wants. He just kind of hangs back.
Yeah, just waiting for the right moment when they naturally pop up.
And he's also really good at being like, hurry up, wrap it up. Let's get out of here.
What are we doing so far in time? We doing all right?
I think we're doing good. We're not really on a time crunch, but when it's me and my other co-host, Pat, we tend to just ramble about we'll go off on what we think the spread of a game coming up on a Sunday might be for 15 minutes. And he's like, all right, guys.
So I'm not caught up past the gravy lately. Are you, do you break down Giants football every 15 minutes on the show?
No, I bitch about him. On the show. That's really all I can do at this point, and just hope that my boy Danny Dimes can get through it. I don't know.
Why did you choose the Giants over the Jets?
Just because blue. They had blue on their jerseys.
Oh, really? That sounds logical. Blue.
I was a kid. You just go blue. Blue and red is way cooler than green, and everybody knows that.
Fair enough.
But we don't we try to not just bitch about our own teams, but we do end up bitching about our own team. Okay. Robert was with me when I found out Eli Manning got benched for the first time, and I almost
my middle son's name is Peyton.
After Peyton Manning.
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, I think my wife loves the entire member. You have the list where you have to just accept it.
Yeah.
I believe all three Manning brothers are on it. Peyton, Eli, and then the one that doesn't get talked about a lot, Cooper.
Cooper, Cooper's awesome. I don't know why Cooper hasn't gotten more gigs. I feel like he's just
funny.
He could do something in the booth or on the sidelines, but I mean, he's awesome in that gig he does on the Fox pregame show. I would think
he's really fun.
Stuff. I wish like him and Peyton, they should give them a shot at doing something during the season. Maybe just a one-off.
Yeah, but if I find my wife in bed with a Manning, part of me hopes it's not Cooper. I mean, if you're going to go big, you got to go with the one that's
Right.
actually
Yeah, the one that brought home some hardware.
Yeah, one that's got a Super Bowl trophy. At least if you're gonna bed her, have the Lombardi Trophy nearby.
And I mean, Eli is my favorite football player of all time, just because I watched him get drafted, and he was like the first guy I saw go his whole career. That was a long career and make it and all that stuff. But like Peyton, I get is the better quarterback, but we're still tied at Super Bowls. And
loved it the day that Eli got drafted and he told San Diego to F off.
That was tight. I did like that.
Yeah,
that was cool. But because I was so pissed when we got Phillip Rivers, I was like, I don't like that guy at all. I didn't really know that much about him, but based off of his accent, I was like, I don't think he's going to be very good.
And by the way, if he had been a giant all of his career, what has he got, like 9 or 10 kids? The taxes would have been, daycare costs would have been astronomical.
Terrible. Absolutely. And like where are you living right there? I guess you're going to have to live kind of like Hoboken-ish area. You're going to have to live Jersey for sure, because you wouldn't really
have he's got serious cash. I don't think he necessarily worry about it. I mean, it's just about getting an apartment big enough for like 9 children.
Yeah, which you got to get like maybe 2 penthouses for that. I don't know.
Right.
But okay, so you got to Minnesota. Which was your favorite and least favorite of the Minnesota teams? Like, were you there? Like, was it who was all on the T-Wolves when you were up there? That wasn't
the T-Wolves were a non-issue. I got there, and
was that after Garnett?
Months, Kevin Garnett got traded to Boston. So that was, I think Al Jefferson was their best player, which shows you how lean things were in Minnesota. The Vikings had this quarterback named Tavares Jackson, who unfortunately has passed away recently. They weren't sold on him long term. They were sold on this quarterback who was old, who used to play in the division, who went to play in New York for a year. And they said, what are we going to do to make a real splash to piss off our friends in the NFC North? Let's go get Brett Favre, and let's bring him on a private plane and a helicopter and have him quarterback for a couple of years. So that was interesting having him there. The Minnesota Twins were very good, couple of playoff appearances while I was there. They were a lot of fun. And I became a fan of hockey, not knowing the players, not knowing the terminology, but just enjoying going to a sporting event and actually appreciating being there. Mm-hmm. I've always said, Alex, that NFL game again, I wouldn't care, because watching games on television, the NFL is so much better. Baseball, sometimes you don't get that great home plate view, and if you're up in the upper deck or down the first baseline, you can't see things. Basketball could be all over the court, but in hockey, to anywhere in the court and in the arena, to see the puck actually being delivered as compared to trying to chase it down on a television screen is a big difference. So my family and I became pretty big hockey fans. I've really not followed it much since I left, and that was over a decade ago. But while we lived in Minnesota, we enjoyed our time going to Wild games.
And that was kind of the Wild were fairly new there too. I think they were like 2002 was their inaugural season.
So they had been, and we were there towards the back half of the decade. So they had been around 5-6 years. They had a little bit of success, but largely a team that was just barely making the playoffs or not making them at all, and we're pretty much first round exits in the playoffs.
I've said that a couple of times before, though. I do agree that I think hockey is maybe the best like in-person sport, because you get to enjoy all of that. And like it's like we used to have the Arrows here, but those games, like, you didn't have really an atmosphere unless you went to like a championship game or anything like that. And still then people didn't really know what they were watching.
Yeah, the Arrows were fine, but there's nothing like watching the speed and the execution and the stick play and they roll the goalies like it is in the NHL. I mean, you could always tell. You can't tell a huge difference between AAA and Major League. I mean, sometimes you can, but you can definitely tell the difference between an Arrows game and an NHL game.
Oh, 100%.
The Arrows was the only hockey game I ever went to. I was like in 5th grade, and our class took a trip to the Arrows game.
Was that at Compaq Center?
I
have no idea. I was 5th grade. Like, what's that? 10 years old?
So basically what you did, Bobby, is you went to a game because you wanted to avoid class. You got in the arena because you got in there with $4 tickets, and you screamed your ass off for 3 hours.
It was a fun time. Yeah.
I knew what you were doing.
Those were pretty fun. But you actually, so you're in your second stint right now as the Rockets PA, but you were the PA through the 2 championship seasons.
Right.
Like, talk about that. That had to be badass. I know you've talked about it a bunch on your show, but like, that is kick ass, wasn't it? Like,
well, I'll give you the story a little bit. I've always wanted to be involved in sports. I had no athletic ability, so there was no chance I was going to be able to use my legs and arms, but I could use my mouth. So I actually did the PA when I was in high school for my high school team, my junior and senior year. That wasn't really as a chance to get ready for it, but it was fun that I had 2 years to be able to do something like that. So I went to school at the University of Houston and worked in radio at KSCB, which is still around to this day, just a small conservative station. They found a guy named Rush Limbaugh and really took off after that. But that was, again, the early 1990s. And then in 1994 or 93, they had open tryouts for the new arena announcer for the Summit. I think the Rockets were just looking for a different voice in the arena. And that's what happens sometimes in these NBA gigs, is that they just want a different sound.
Yeah.
For whatever the case may be. So I went and applied, and I finished second, and I didn't get the job. And I was astonished because, you can be your biggest fan. You can also be your biggest critic. And when you don't hit something and you just pray that somebody thinks you're better than what you are, you kind of hope to get a job that way. I really was the better of the two. And I'm not trying to brag. I'm just being honest on this, because a lot of jobs I've gone for that I wasn't the better candidate. So I was astonished that I did not get the job. And the guy that got the job was it's just kind of, it was hokey. How he got it was it wasn't what an NBA game was going to be.
Okay.
So midway through the 1993-94 season, this gentleman was performing so poorly, they had to fire him. He was making a lot of mistakes. And again, as much as you want to be entertaining and yell and scream and root the fans on, there is a certain level of professionalism you have to have and know the game of basketball. And if you don't know it, you're going to be screwed. Mm-hmm. So apparently he was making so many mistakes and not catching on. There's a lot of ad-libbing that goes with it too, because you don't know when to get the fans going. You don't know when to say certain things. There could be foul situations that are very muddled up and technically difficult to announce to the crowd. So they asked me probably, I think it was in January or February of 1994, would you come in and replace this guy? And I said, of course. And that happened to be the time the Rockets finished, I think, second in the West and defeated the Utah Jazz to win the Western Conference in 1994. And then they played the Knicks in what was an awesome 7-game series, the O.J. Simpson series, and won their first championship. And then did all of 1995, where they beat the Orlando Magic to win their second championship. And then all of 1996 and 97. And then after that, I decided I wanted to take a opportunity that my alma mater, the University of Houston, had for me to do their football and basketball games. So I told the Rockets, as much as I love doing this, I'd be missing too many games. So I decided that I'd give up the PA job to do what I was always wanting to do growing up, even as a kid, was to do play-by-play for Houston Cougar football and basketball. So, and then come full circle, 20 plus years later, the Rockets asked me about coming back because, and again, same thing. They wanted a change in the arena. Uh-huh. And I said, well, I had come back and done the University of Houston again. And I'm like, well, I love doing play-by-play, so that's really not what I want to do. I like PA, but play-by-play is my favorite thing to do. And they said, what if you did the PA and the home games, and we gave you the radio play-by-play on the road? And I thought that was really bizarre. How does that work out? And Craig Ackerman is doing a great job, and we're still friends to this day. And he said, well, Bill Worrell is going to start only doing home games, and we're going to give Craig the opportunity to do the television on the road. So it was a combination I could not refuse. To do the NBA, back with the Rockets in the arena, and then get my first opportunity to do professional basketball on play-by-play radio. It was something I just couldn't say no to. So as much as I love my alma mater, I told him, I said, I've got to take this opportunity. So I did, and that was 4 years ago.
So how do you was it just do you ever feel overworked when you're having to go all right, I got my show in the afternoons, I got this, at one point you were doing the morning show on 792.
That was tough. Yeah. So that was tough because we would come in from Milwaukee or Dallas or Memphis or Philadelphia at 2:30 in the morning, and I would come to the offices and I would get an air mattress out and try to catch a couple of hours. Well, I think all of you guys know that sleeping on an air mattress sucks. Yeah. So it wasn't quality sleep. I was afraid about whether I was going to get up in time. I would power through the shows. I would never be in a situation where I was falling asleep or nodding off, because you just, Alex, this working mornings, you have to just drink a lot of coffee.
Yep.
But I was screwed for a day and a half after that. And so it just didn't make sense. And not that I couldn't do it again, because obviously morning radio can be lucrative. It's the top spot probably on a radio station. But I like my schedule now, where I get to do the middays. It's a little bit of a quirkier audience.
And you're not competing against the Rod Ryan show.
That's right.
Right.
And I get to sleep normal hours when I'm home with my family. And then if I have a game, even if I fly in from Orlando or Washington, I'm at least home by 2:00 in the morning. If I have to 2:30, I get my 8 hours and then come to the office after that.
So do you find the team playing?
I do.
All right, like how tight is that? That's kind of cool. Like, I mean, you're already dealing with the players on a regular basis. The
Right.
790 is the home of the Rockets, so you're pals with some of the guys, anyways.
Yeah.
But like, who is like the crazy? Like, what's the weirdest thing that somebody does on the plane? Like, I know we just watched The Last Dance. That was big, and you see Jordan
Right.
with all the card games. Like, are there card games going on? Are there dice games going on those planes?
Yeah, I'll say this. You know,
You don't have to out
if there were
anybody.
things I couldn't tell you, I wouldn't be able to. But in all sincerity, Alex, it's not particularly crazy because these are grown-ass men that are making millions of dollars that can't afford to. Now, they can have fun, and they're going out and having a good time. But usually we're on a plane either right after a practice or right after a game. I would say 80% of the players sleep. Now, there's 20% of them that will play cards, that will watch movies, that will be on their iPad. But that's the one thing that I thought would be a lot crazier, a lot of debauchery. There is far from it. Most of the time, everybody is sleeping. I can tell you there are very few flights that the window shades are up. It's the most peaceful part of the day. And the food is good, and the seats are nice and reclining, and it's very relaxing. And again, there are probably 4 or 5 of them will play cards on a regular basis. Now, if they win a big game, there'll be a little hooting and hollering, but by no means is it like what you would think it would be. It is way more chill than anybody in a million years would imagine.
Okay, then tell me about the plane, because the plane, like you said, is pretty sweet. Like, do they have the bed seats, or do they just recline super far back? Are there the tables out there?
It's the plane we've been using had us. It's a 757, which usually seats on a normal airline about 150 seats. We probably have about 60. All of them are first class. All of them have very good reclining. There is a couple of areas. There's one laid down area where a player that's hurt or maybe taking a knee massage to take care of knees and joints, that kind of thing, will lay down. That's kind of the back table area, so to speak. I mentioned the card table, but most of it is just a nice plane with fewer seats. Tillman Fertitta has purchased a brand new airplane. It's a 767, which I don't know when it's going to be ready, but from what I understand, it's going to be very much what we have at our level, but it'll just be the plane that'll be used by the Rockets and by the folks at Landry's.
That's pretty cool. Like, I've always thought just like traveling with a team has to be like, is that like the first time you traveled with a team, was that like the coolest thing in the world?
The coolest thing ever. Let me tell you, you go to a private air terminal, you hand the baggage handlers on the ground of the airport. We go to Hobby, so we go to a private area at Hobby. Hand the bag, they put the bag on, you walk on the plane, you sit down. The stewardesses flight attendants are the people that you recognize because they're with you all year long. They hand you your drink that they know that you've been drinking. You get terrific food. You land in a particular city. You go to a private area there as well, private air terminal. You walk off the plane. You get on a bus right on the runway. You go to the hotel, and then the bags are probably 15, 20 minutes behind you. Grab your bags, go upstairs, and it's it. There's no baggage claim. There's obviously TSA screening and whatnot. That's legal by rule, but it makes you really appreciate that life when you're in Southwest boarding group C30. You can't find anything but a middle seat. So it is probably the best part of the job, and that's part of the sadness is that if it was tough travel, or there was a lot of commercial travel, getting up flight early the next morning to catch a commercial flight and going through baggage claim and going through security, it'd be a pain. But the charter life it's simply exemplary. It's so much fun.
You said that they like kind of have your drink or whatever your snack is. Like, do you get like a rider, or like, okay, I kind of want this. Like, what's your go-to thing? What are they handing Matt Thomas when he gets on the plane?
It really, and again, I don't know who drinks what. We have pretty strict rules about alcohol, so I don't know what the other guys do, but I'm either drinking unsweet tea or Coke Zero.
You're an unsweet tea guy?
Because I feel like when I go on the road, I know that's a terrible answer for you, but that's just the truth. When you go on the road, you get to have nice restaurants and whatnot, so you maybe have a beverage or two there. I don't necessarily want to know if especially if I'm on a long flight. I'm not a big drinker as it is, and I find up falling asleep if I want to having a beer or so. So it's it's 98% of the times it's soft drink or iced tea.
Do you sleep on the plane, or are you watch a movie on your iPad or whatever?
I used to never be able to sleep. Anytime I had a bump on any flight in my life, I would wake up immediately and be in full panic mode. We travel so much. If you look at an NBA calendar, I mean, you're gone half the month. I mean, I figure on average, and during an NBA season, you're gone 13 or 14 nights that I can sleep now on planes. Not deep sleep. You know how you can close your eyes and you can kind of hear everything, but you're still getting a little bit of rest. Mm-hmm. It's not that deep REM sleep, but it's decent enough. And I've been able to survive a bump and not think my life is over.
That is good. That's a scary feeling, though, when you wake up, just like there's about 3 seconds where you are just, okay, that's it. This is it. This is how I'm going to die.
Yep.
So you've done all these games. You've called all these games. You've been at a bunch of things. Were you at the Astros World Series game when they clinched or when they won it?
It's funny you asked that. That was in Los Angeles. It was Game 7. I was on the other end of the country. So Game 7 of the World Series for the Astros, I was in New York City calling the Rockets-Knicks game on radio. Just a mundane, regular, nobody cares about game. So I'm calling the game at Madison Square Garden, and I have an iPad to my right where I'm watching that during commercial breaks, during halftime. Game is obviously the Rockets game's over a lot faster. We all get on the bus. We're all watching our iPads. We all got on the plane. We were going from New York to Atlanta, Georgia right after the game because it was a back-to-back with the Atlanta Hawks. And probably about an hour in flight, we had Wi-Fi, and we were able to see through the internet, not through the live coverage, but the internet, that the Astros had won the World Series. So not a great story for a sportscaster, but just to kind of show you that sometimes schedules don't coexist properly, and that was certainly one of those nights.
Yeah, that does suck. That's like the first time that your team ever wins one. That does suck to have to miss it, but like that's cool. But like it's just part of that's a badass gig you got. So yeah,
and also to be fair, I was also at center court in 1994 and 1995 when the Rockets beat the Knicks and then the Magic. So I think all things have balanced.
Yeah, that balanced it out fine. So I was gonna ask because I was gonna say not including Houston championships because obviously nothing can beat being at those games when the Rockets won. Like, what is the best sporting event that you've been to in person?
Wow, all of them feel like they're Houston related. Best non-Houston sporting event. Wow, the Twins in 2009 beat the Detroit Tigers in a game 163 at the Metrodome and went about 13 or 14 innings. And they won it in the bottom of whatever that last inning was, and I was able to be a part of a champagne celebration. In fact, I was working as the quote-unquote silent reporter for the Twins radio broadcast that day. So my responsibility was, if they win, you know how Julian Morales goes in the dugout and the clubhouse like Steve Sparks did? Well, that was going to be my responsibility for the Twins. And we'd run downstairs to the clubhouse because it was the bottom of the ninth and a chance to win it. Well, they didn't do it then. Then it was the bottom of the 10th. I must have gone from the the Metrodome press box to the Twins dugout or the clubhouse probably 5 times in an hour. So I got my steps in. But they finally won the game. And like a rookie, Alex, I did not bring a change of clothes because as soon as the game was over, they said, we're going to New York because the Yankees game's in 2 days and they want to practice at Yankee Stadium the day before the game. So I got on a plane with all these Twins players that were so excited about winning the American League Central, and I reeked of champagne, reeked of it, and it was a miserable 2.5-hour flight, but it was still fun because I was here with these guys that had just celebrated winning an extra game to win the division championship.
That's a pretty good experience then.
Oh, it was for sure.
Yeah. And then that was the Yankees beat them, and was it? The Yankees beat them in 3, right? Yeah.
Yeah, the Twins have never been able to beat the Yankees on a regular basis in the playoffs. They have a horrible record against them.
And they always end up playing them in that first round, I feel like.
Well, like this past year, wasn't it, too? The Twins and the Yankees played?
It's them or the Indians, one of them. Like the Yankees always play either the Indians or the Twins.
Never done any success against the Yankees. It's like, how the Astros sucked against the Braves for all those years?
Yeah.
That's what Minnesota fans are going through right now, facing the Yankees.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But Minnesota, they got the were you there when Target opened? Target Field
No,
opened?
I went back. I left in 2009. The first season there was 2010, and we went back that summer because I promised my kids would go because they were going. for the 3 years that we lived in Minneapolis, we would go to a bunch of Twins games, and the Metrodome sucked. It was awful, and it was kind of bittersweet because we've been talking about Target Field forever and ever, and when the year it opens up, I get the job to come back to Houston. So I promised to go to Minneapolis, and we did.
But the field's pretty cool, though, huh? Or the stadium,
it is.
New one.
It's really good. The only problem is, and it's totally their fault, is that the ownership of the Twins did not want to put a roof on it, and it's been a major mistake. If you look at, and not that a lot of your fans would, but the Twins probably have 10 postponements a year of 82, and that's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of them are in April and May because it's still bitter-ass cold. It'll still snow once in a while. And then in September, it'll start to get pretty frosty too. Now, most of their rainouts come in the first 2 months of the year, but man, that really backlogs them towards the end to play a lot of double headers and have to skip a lot of day game or off days because of the postponements they had in the first 2 months. And that's the only problem with the stadium. It's a beautiful facility, lots of great food, terrific sight lines, but a major flaw. They should have figured out a way to get more money. Either they raise it publicly themselves or ask the county. But for that facility in that city not to have a roof is a disaster.
I feel like most stadiums should just have those retractable roofs now. Like whether or not you use it, like that's cool. But like you could always have events in it with or without, like we don't use we don't ever open the roof at NRG anymore.
Right.
But like you could just rarely have to close it. But when you got to, it's awesome and you can use that.
Well, the new Viking Stadium, US Bank Stadium, which is on the property where the Metrodome is, that's a retractable roof. So
yeah.
The thing of it is, back then, we're talking about in 2000, construction was in 2007 and 8. Maybe, I guess, Alex, it was just way too much. Who knows?
Yeah.
But they just screwed up because it is a facility that's only can be used during 5 months of the year, not even 6, because you don't want to put anything on. You can't put a concert there in November. It'd be 25 degrees. It's ridiculous.
I didn't even think about all the other stuff that they're missing out on, all the other revenue, and like they couldn't have boxing matches like Minute Maid has, or that golf thing that Minute Maid has out there.
They have summer concerts, but that's about it. I mean, after about October 1st, it's too cold. That's why this baseball season will be interesting if they can't get it started really quickly, like around July 4th. At Minnesota and Cleveland and Chicago, there are some cold ass weather cities that really get chilly come playoff time. And now you're asking New York and Boston to back it up maybe a few more weeks. Weather's going to be a huge factor in this baseball season.
Okay, talking about you go.
What there talks about maybe doing postseason in like neutral sites with stadiums that do have retractable roofs.
Well, if you're going to have limited fans or zero fans, I guess it really doesn't matter where you do it, right? But I think Major League Baseball wants to have fans in the stadium, and I would think as the calendar moves along, they want to start adding more fans. Baseball needs the revenue of fans. You need, I don't think we'll ever be at a point where Minute Maid will be at 40,000. But if you could tell Jim Crane and the Astros that you could get 20,000 in by the end of the season, he'd consider that a win-win, wouldn't you think?
Anything, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know you've probably talked about this to death, but like, do you think that both the MLB, like, I feel like the MLB is definitely going to have a season at some point. I think it'll like obviously be severely shortened, but what about the NBA? The NBA is one of those. It's like we're kind of getting to nut cutting time right now, where like I feel like they got to make a decision. Like, do you see there being a next season being pushed back? Because I feel like if you started the NBA on Christmas, that's when people would care the most. You would you don't have that burnout where you're watching too many sports. But like, do you think that they're going to have a postseason now, and do you think that it'll affect the next season?
I think they're going to do everything in their power to play baseball or basketball this year, finish off the season with some regular season games, and then go to the postseason. I think they would love to be able to have everything go normally in the playoffs, 7 games. My feeling is maybe that first round will get cut to 5 like it used to be many years ago. I have been saying this forever. The NBA season should start in mid-December. I don't necessarily believe you have to necessarily start at December 25th. That may be the night where you kind of show off your product for the first time. But I think crowning an NBA champion, I think Game 7 of the NBA Finals on Labor Day weekend would be amazing. And that's what I've been hoping for because, in the 4 years I've been calling games, I go to these arenas in October or November, and you're in the middle of college football season. You're not getting front page coverage on the newspaper. You're not getting top coverage on ESPN. You would if it's December 12th, where the college football season, guys, is over with, and you're down to the home stretch in the NFL. And college basketball, as you know, very much a regional sport, very much well, I care about my team and nobody else. The NBA starting around December 15th just makes too much sense, and I hope this is a permanent change.
That would be awesome. I just feel like I really I'll pay attention to the Rockets and everything, but I don't really look at maybe if there's a game on and it's just a night I'm just flipping through stuff, but I don't get hardcore into it until Christmas Day, and then you bet the Christmas Day unders every single Christmas morning, and then they've been fixing the lines enough lately to where you lose, but I just know where I lose a bunch of money on Christmas Day usually is where okay, my NBA season started here.
Oh, so you're betting on all 5 games that day?
You just bet the unders because they wake up, all the players wake up, they're tired, they don't want to be there, right? They had to do they're missing their families, or they just did gifts with their kids if they're at home. I'm always they're not going to show up to play on Christmas, and lately they've made them low enough to where they do show up enough, and I think I hit one of them last year. I went 0 for 4 the year before that too. So I'm not having a great run, and I may need to give that up. That was always my mentality, though.
Well, this past year, my Christmas was in San Francisco because the Rockets play the Warriors on Christmas Day in their new arena, and that was kind of surreal because we had been on the road for basically a week. It was like a 4 or 5 game road trip. So, as a PA announcer, I don't think I've lost on Christmas Day, but losing to the sucky Warriors on Christmas Day in San Francisco against that terrible team was highly depressing. So I don't mind playing on Christmas. I've always in my life, whether it's been as a radio broadcaster or as a worker in college, I've always worked holidays. So it's almost a rite of passage that I'm involved in something on Thanksgiving or Christmas Day.
Honestly, be on the FM side as opposed to the AM side where there's no games, that's the weirdest thing ever. Still it'll be Thanksgiving. I feel like I should be going in to run some game or do something, and I've been with the morning show for 5 years now, and I still am never going to get over that.
Well, you are always welcome to come back to 790, where the humans are.
I used to run. I feel like I produced your show a lot when Ross was not there.
You need to do it more. Yeah, you should be the full-time backup. Let me.
Can I just be a guest producer spot one day?
Yeah, the problem is we don't pay you enough, and I know you're making a lot of money over there on 94.5, and I get that.
But I'll stop by and just be hey, let me slide in. Let me run the board for just one break.
Well, how about this? We do Monday night meetings on our Facebook page. And you can join us for one of the Monday night Facebook sessions. Instead
of just trolling you on the comments.
Trolling is a strong term. I just can see you an interested person.
Yeah. Okay. I'm down to do that. I was messing with, I think Wexler was talking, they were talking MJ versus LeBron, right when the documentary started, the day after it started. And they're well, there's no, who's better in Space Jam though? We haven't seen LeBron, so I think jury's still out.
That is so millennial of you to bring up Space Jam.
Well, I feel like if LeBron Space Jam sucks, then you're all right, the GOAT discussion, is over. If you can't beat his Space Jam, then dude, that's it.
How old are you?
I'm 31.
So who's better, MJ or LeBron?
MJ 100%.
Thank you. Thank goodness.
Bobby,
there's no
yeah, definitely. MJ.
It's not even really a discussion, but I appreciate what LeBron does. LeBron's up there, but LeBron can play any position on the court, but MJ changed everything.
You guys were raised right. I'm proud of you both.
I think it's insane when people do that. And then you get the occasional Kobe, the Kobe guy going out there, which I mean, not to step on any, people that are upset about that right now, but occasionally you get the guy that's no, Kobe's the greatest of all time. It's I don't think Kobe's in the top 5, is he?
Yeah, Kobe's the strange one of the group because you can argue, and again, are you defining the greatest of all time by positions? Are you putting together a starting 5? Or are you just going with the 5 greatest?
Mm-hmm.
I think there's been no greater example of how you cannot take decades and compare them with each other than what we have saw on the Last Dance. Did you notice the final scores in some of those games?
Dude. Yeah.
Oh
the Rockets are scoring 122 to 118 as finals.
Well, how about Chicago? I mean, Michael Jordan, Reggie Miller on the same floor, Scottie Pippen, Rick Smits, who was a dominant low post player for many years. Final, Bulls 86, Pacers 81. How in the hell did we watch those games? How did we, as Americans, put up with 86-point winning finals? That's what I want to know.
That's a college score now.
Well, I was teasing on Twitter. I said, was there a shot clock back in 1997? Because God knows 86 points is usually midway through the third quarter in today's NBA.
Yeah. Yeah, that is pretty crazy, though. I and there was just so many things like that like the 90s just made everything look so different. Like just seeing like skinny Charles Barkley was nuts to me. Like I've seen, like I remember him, like Space Jam, he was still pretty skinny Charles Barkley, but that was my –
Charles Barkley was fat the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Still competed, but he was fat.
Like my Michael Jordan was like Space Jam, like, oh, okay, he won it after. Like, I really remember watching the Rockets 95 championship. Like, I didn't live here. My mom came down here, and I remember watching it at my grandmother's house. And that was, like, the first NBA, like, game I really recall watching. And so, like, MJ, it was like everybody talked about MJ. I knew who he was. And then it was like, okay, now he wins every championship after that. It's either him or the Rockets that win. That's what I knew at that point. And then it was Space Jam MJ. And so, like, it was cool to see all like the early 80s stuff. Like little, not strong Michael Jordan was nuts to me. Like also the fact that he just smoked cigars constantly was badass. And like, can you imagine like the athletes right now just walking, like if Harden just walked into the stadium with a stogie, that'd be like, people would be like, how can you do that?
Yeah, those guys will drink a little bit. I'm not talking about James. I'm talking about just the general NBA player. I see very little tobacco use. I'll be honest with you. Now, are they doing other things? Well, I'm not invited in their world, so I can't speak to that. But I have never seen, in my 4 years of this go around with the Rockets, I've not seen a single player ever with a cigar in his mouth. Doesn't mean they don't do it. I just haven't seen it.
Does James Harden or Russell Westbrook have like the security guards like Michael did?
Yes.
Where they're just their buddies?
James has one or two, and then Russ has one. In fact, Russ's bodyguard used to be James's bodyguard. So, and I know him very well. He's a really good guy. I don't know James's people at all, but yeah. And the Rockets have their own team security. So we carry about a group of on average, 3 or 4 guys that watch over the entire organization. One for each of the players. Sometimes there's 2. And then we have one guy that just kind of watches over the rest of us.
Okay. I didn't know that. But I thought it was cool. Like, I mean, MJ obviously had to have extra security, but I also thought it was like a cool flex that he made him wear the Air Jordan logo on their jackets too. Like, hey,
that wasn't because, and that was for branding. You know that, right?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, anybody involved with Michael Jordan's got to be Team Nike.
Right. Which is cool. And then like there was nobody better in that documentary than the guy with the mullet hair, like the big.
May he rest in peace. He just passed away. I found out last week.
January, I think they were saying. They were like, he would have loved this documentary.
Oh, he got major shine, especially when he's throwing the quarters against the wall with MJ.
So he turned himself into a meme. And then I saw something today about the documentary. Somebody was like, Michael Jordan he just destroys every opponent he's ever had in his entire life, including himself, because he put the Crying Jordan page. Like, that's not even the first page of memes now when you go to Michael Jordan memes. Like, Crying Jordan's second page now. So he even got rid of that.
What is your favorite meme?
From the whole thing? It's got to be the iPad, just like him laughing at the iPad. Insert anything that somebody says it's stupid.
And that's the reason why it's really not a true documentary, because this thing was pushed with a Michael Jordan agenda for sure.
Well, he got the final say in everything, yeah.
Well, yeah, when you grab the videotape and you allow the access that Michael Jordan allowed, he knew he would have, at the end of the day, full editorial control. So I pose this to my audience today. Would it be great to do another Last Dance, but it need be not of Michael Jordan's pick and choosing of what gets talked about and what doesn't?
Isaiah Thomas can be in charge of putting it together. And
then there'd be a bias towards that too. I mean, a true documentary, when we were learning about the business, was you had somebody that had no editorial control over it. You had a documentarian who made it, took everything that he had, and then put together a show. Now, again, it's great. It was highly entertaining. It took us places and gave us explanations on things that we didn't know about. But there were probably some things that Michael did not want to be brought up in conversation. And when the documentarian came to him and said, I want to put this in, he probably said, that's not going to happen, because that's how Michael Jordan rolls. And when you are the greatest of all time and you have the videotape and you're putting this all together and you are the one that authorized all this, you're going to have final say. So that comes with a little bit of not an asterisk, but certainly a Last Dance as Michael Jordan largely saw it.
Okay, and this actually happened today. We're recording this the Tuesday before we release this, but you had the guy on the final night of the documentary that they were talking about the flu game, quote unquote,
Right.
that was really, it looks like a food poisoning game is what his trainer was saying it was. And they were talking about there being 5 guys that delivered the pizza to his room that night. You had one of the guys on your show today.
Yeah.
Like, how was, like, what I saw he said he didn't do it. So
No,
like,
he cooked the pizza. He delivered it from the Pizza Hut in Park City, which isn't there anymore, to the hotel where they were staying at, the Hilton, the Marriott that was there. He says there weren't 5 people. It was him, because he was a trainee, so he had not made a delivery, or at least made limited deliveries. So 2 people from the Pizza Hut went over there, dropped it off. It wasn't 5. There may have been 5 people, but it could have been like security people from the hotel.
that's true.
He didn't know it was for Michael Jordan per se. He had said to me that they had made a lot of pizza requests, but for the team, it would be 10, 15, 20 pizzas. This was just a single pizza, a single thin crust pepperoni pizza. He didn't tell me it was pepperoni, but I had heard other interviews that said that. He said he didn't remember anything special about it. He went in the room, dropped it off, saw Michael, said hello, and really a little bit of small talk. He said the whole conversation not even a conversation, the whole visit inside the hotel room was, a handful of minutes. And next thing he finds out is that, that now 22 years later, they're claiming food poisoning. I had never heard that until the documentary.
Yeah.
Ross had said that he had heard it before. So it's just one of those things that is a little anecdotal and fun. But man, this gentleman who made the pizza was on my show today, has been on lots of different shows around the country, because he's like, wait a minute, my name's being drunk through the mud because you claim flu, and then all of a sudden you said it was a bad pizza. So he wanted to make sure his rep as a pizza maker back in the late 90s was still strong.
And if you want to go hear that interview, I'm sure it's podcasted on sports790.com.
It is,
Matt Thomas blog. Go check that out, and then go listen to the podcast and listen to Matt Thomas again, noon to 3 every weekday on Sports Talk 790. Okay, so just like, I know maybe it's not really the flu game, but have you ever had a quote unquote flu game where like you had an injury, you were playing through a sickness, but you had to go and broadcast through it?
I'm glad you brought that up. 1995, I want to say February, I don't know the exact date. There were rumors that Clyde Drexler was leaving Portland and was going to come to the Rockets. I had not been feeling well that day, I'm just going to guess the time. Let's say 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the trade comes down. I had not done a radio show at the time. I think I was a sidekick or a producer on the morning show. I'm not for sure what it was, but I was definitely doing the PA. And I'm like, if Clyde shows up, I'm going to announce his name. I'm going to be the first person publicly announces his name at the summit. So I used to wear a long shirt and tie. It was a Rockets tie or something. And I was just hot and sweating. Come to find out, I probably had a fever of about 103, 104. I mean, it was bad. Don't know exactly what it was. I was fatigued. I was tired. You were talking about working all these hours. There'll be a PS of the story. But I got to the arena, did the game, and then they said, all right, he's going to come out of the locker room to be introduced for the very first time. And you can probably go look it up on YouTube or look it up on Google. Clyde's wearing a Houston Rockets stitch hat, red, in a suit. And I said, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Clyde, the Glide, Drexler. And the place went bananas. And I'm like, this is why I fought through this high-ass fever that I had. Did the game, went home, got up in the morning, still was sick as a dog. Go to the doctor, and the doctor says, you have mononucleosis.
Oh.
I said, okay. He said, you're going to do nothing for 2 to 3 weeks. So I go from being on this morning radio sports show at being at the age of, I was 23, is 95, so 23 years old, to being confined in my home, having zero appetite. Everything tasted like soap. I didn't want to eat anything for about a week. Lost a boatload of weight. The only things I did was I watched endless hours of the O.J. Simpson trial. I mean, I watched days and days and days of it. I listened to radio a little bit. There wasn't satellite radio at the time or internet radio, so I would turn on a radio station and I would hear – there were 2 songs that were played about every half hour. Hold My Hand by Hootie and the Blowfish. And there was another song, and I don't remember her name. She was a one-hit wonder. It was You got to be strong. You got to be love will save the day. Kind of an R&B kind of song. I forget what her name was. It goes da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. That's neither here nor there. But point being is there was two songs that every time I hear them, even on the radio today, I think about being in mononucleosis. And the only other thing I did before returning to work and before returning to the Rockets is I went to Beck's Prime to get a hamburger, and I went and saw the Brady Bunch movie. That was my life for essentially 3 weeks before I came back, finished up doing the PA for the Rockets, and they won their second championship.
So how glad were you that, like, your doctor's appointment was the next day then? Like, that's a pretty clutch, like, I'm just going to power through this. So
could you imagine if I had gone the day before?
And then, yeah, that would be the worst. That would be the worst.
And I would be at home watching the Rockets and having somebody else fill in for me saying, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Houston, Clyde the Glide Drexel. I'd have been so pissed off. I mean, I'd have been sick and pissed off, which is the worst kind of life. Right?
Yeah, nobody likes that. Nobody likes to be that way, and nobody likes to deal with people like that either.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's all I got, Robert. Unless you had anything else, but I had we do some segments on the show. Yeah. Oh yeah, you go. Sorry.
Yeah. So we just talked about wondering if the NBA will finish the season or when will MLB start theirs. What about the NFL? Because I know Alex has said that he will riot.
They have to. They're going to. I'm going to riot.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're the least. Yeah, I mean, they want fans at stadium. I mean, all of them. Let's not kid that, because imagine having MetLife Stadium without 75,000 people. That's a lot.
Yeah.
But the television contracts for the football network, for all the networks, crushes what the MLB and NBA get. So if they're going to take a loss this year, at least they'll have the television revenue. Mm-hmm. I envision partial crowds in the NFL. I envision it starting on time. But even if it doesn't start on time, I could see the first 3 or 4 games being picked up on the calendar and moved to the end of the season, and having a Super Bowl, say, instead of early February, probably late February. But I would think of the 3 sports, clearly, because the NFL hasn't started yet, the one that will have the least effect in terms of the calendar will be the NFL. And I do believe there will be fans in a stadium. I do believe, however, when you go to NRG, instead of seeing 65,000, my guess is maybe this entire 2020 season will be 20 to 25 minutes.
Because I was saying, Rod Ryan was asking me that this morning. And I was like, I can see maybe like the beginning of the, like, because I know that Cuomo in New York was saying that he didn't want fans to be in the stands or whatever. And I was like, I can see maybe there being like 1, 2, 3 weeks of like no fans if that sticks or whatever. But like, I was like, there's a 0% chance the Super Bowl is not going to have a ton of people there. They're not going to, like, the Super Bowl is not going to miss being the Super Bowl. So like either everything better be fine by then, or people just are going to have to get over it, I feel like.
It's going to be hard. And Alex, I agree with you in theory, but I can't imagine Roger Goodell getting in front of a podium and saying, you want to go to the Super Bowl, get over it.
Are they going to boo him?
Well, they're not going to say, damn you, rest of the world, we're going to put 70,000 people in. If the NFL is not comfortable putting 70,000 people in, they're not going to force it for the sake of forcing it. Alex, I'll be honest with you. If we're in February of 2021 and we can't get 70,000 people into the Super Bowl, we got a long road to recovery. Way longer than I ever thought we'd have.
That's there's just too much stuff where it's slowly starting to open right now. Like there's too much like good things that I feel like are being opened up right now. Like they're allowing people back into stadiums right now, like to like work out and stuff. Like I feel like it's heading in the right direction to where like unless there's some like insane jump that I don't see that happening. And then the Super Bowl is so far away. Like you said, like something has to go terribly wrong between now and then for that.
Well, here's the problem, guys. And not that I want to get very political with you, but this opening up of things is still drawing down party lines. 50% of America wants everything opened up tomorrow. 50% of America can't believe we're opening up restaurants at 25 and 50%. Or opening up parks and beaches. Go look at your Twitter line. I mean, I do sports, so I don't rarely ever get into politics. But I see my listeners, some are conservative, some are liberal, some are Republican, some are Democrat, and it goes right down the party line. All of my liberal Democratic listeners think that we need to be quarantining more and not going out. Where my conservative Republican listeners are like, I'll be damned if I wear a mask again. So unfortunately, everything in life except your love of the Giants is drawn down party lines.
That's fair. Yeah, I would say so. Like, I don't know. It is weird like that. Like, just, I don't know. My whole thing is with things reopening, I just kept saying, like, don't fuck up football season. Like, just be cool, guys. Let's be, like, if we have to be socially distant, I get it. If you hate it, just remember, you fuck up football season if we ruin this. So don't do that.
Well, I'll say this. I social distance. I don't like wearing the mask. I do wear it occasionally. I am going to Lake Charles this weekend to the casino because I do enjoy throwing the dice. I will wear a mask. I will social distance. I will be at a table with only probably 3 or 4 other people. But there's just a large part of me that says we got to, and I'm not trying to use myself as an example. I'm just saying this is all
I get you.
Personal. I need my life to assume somewhat of normalcy again because it has been too long. Plus, my wife and my kids want me out of the house for a day anyway.
And yeah, Lake Charles is not a bad way to like test out this whole.
And it's again, I'm not walking in cavalier. I'm not throwing things around. I'm not trying to high five people. I'm going to have a mask. There's going to be probably some shields put up, but I want to see what this is like. I think it's going to be a human experiment. And a lot of that. And I also told the NBA, I said, look, if you guys go to Orlando or Las Vegas and you need a PA announcer, I'm willing to go because I think it's going to be the cleanest place on earth. They're not going to send hundreds of the greatest athletes in the world to an unsafe environment. And I think, and again, maybe I'm being foolish about this, that if they need me and I get to go, I'm going to have a great story to tell about. You wouldn't believe about how professional sports acted in 2020 during the great pandemic and how we had to get through the rest of the season. So there's a curiosity factor to me. I can't live afraid. You got to be careful.
Yeah.
You got to be responsible, but I'm not going to live afraid.
I 100% agree with your whole stance on that. That's kind of like I wear the masks when I go into stores. I don't wear them into the office because I'm already working within close distance. I keep my distance with people in the halls and stuff like that. But like, I feel like you can only do enough of that stuff before like, yeah, we're just gonna live in fear for our whole lives. I was talking to my girlfriend the other night, and I was like, how long do you think we're gonna continuously just like people wearing masks is just gonna be a regular thing? Is that gonna be years now where like you just like it's not weird to see somebody in a mask in the mall, you know?
Well, I've always believed that in the last 60 days, the most dangerous place to go is the grocery store.
And everybody's going there.
And everybody's going there. So if I've been able to survive the grocery store for the last 2 months with all the potential germs that are in there and people pretending they're social distancing, but they're not. And again, I don't, who knows? The 3 of us are not doctors. But there's still a tremendous amount of unknown on this. I'm just saying, be smart about this. But I'm not one of those people that are like, I refuse to wear the mask. If I
it's my rat.
I'll do it. If I got a social distance, I'll do it. But these are the rules that we're now being given to kind of reopen America. And I think we need to reopen America for our friends, for our own mental health, for our businesses, because we were not put on this earth to live this way for this period of time. This is madness. And like I said, for me personally, our social distancing and our being kind of quarantined at the house has been really good. My kids have been spectacular. My wife's been awesome about this. But I am worried that if we go too much of this isn't safe for another 6 to 9 months, I think mental health could become an issue down the road. And I hope that isn't the case.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And let's get away from that topic. You know, that's just a downer topic. Let's get into let's get a little you want to get a little weird with us? We can do a couple of our segments.
Go for it.
All right. This is a segment we do, and it's maybe it's had some controversy. Some people aren't huge fans of it. But this is a segment that started when I was talking to my buddy, and we were talking about a church group that I was around, and I was like, yeah, I just wasn't going to say, like, I didn't want to upset them. And he was like, I wonder what Jesus would have done in that situation. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to turn this and do a podcast segment. So we get our listeners to throw Jesus into a modern day situation. And if you use the hashtag PTGWWJD to @PassTheGradePod, if you want to give MT a follow, @SportsMT on Twitter. He loves his Twitter followers. He's a great follow. So go give him a follow.
At 30,000, by the way, I'm going to have a Twitter party. I had one at 10,000. I had one at 20,000. When I get to 30, we're going to Vegas.
Oh.
But anything that Pastor Gravy can do to get me to 30,000, I would greatly appreciate.
Dude, Gravy, let's send him to Vegas. Let's send him to Vegas, Gravy Gang. Use the hashtag PTGWWJD to @PassGradePod. If you want to tweet SportsMT as well, send him your WWJDs. And probably in a couple of weeks, you're like, why do they keep doing this? Because they will. They will.
Good. I'm glad.
But and then you can just you can weigh in on it too. But hashtag PTGWWJD. And this is our What Would Jesus Do segment.
Jesus, what would Jesus do? Jesus, what would Jesus do? Put him in a situation in a modern time. If he wrote this jingle, do you think he'd make it rhyme? So think about this crazy world in which we live today, and how would Jesus handle it in any given way?
This week's or today's What Would Jesus Do submission comes from our good pal Stephanie E. Bow at Stephaniezi on Twitter. That's at Stephanie with 5 E's before the ZY on Twitter. And Stephanie says, would Jesus blow on his pizza rolls before he eats them out of the microwave, or do you think he's blowing on it kind of guy? Like she typed it out. I'm not gonna be able to pronounce it. But like, does he just put it in his mouth and then blow on it from his mouth? You know, like when you eat it too hot because you get too excited, or do you think Jesus is a guy that's patient enough to wait for it?
No, he's patient because he knows his disciples have to go through this, so he's going to be just like every other common man and woman out there. Mm-hmm. None of us eat the pizza rolls directly out of the oven. We do, as I like to call them, foof them. So Jesus is a foofer.
I'm really bad though. I'm a notorious I'll put it in my mouth oh yeah, you just put that in the micro, or you just put that in the microwave. You put it right out of the microwave. I'll pop one in my mouth. And you can't spit it out. So you just kind of I guess got to suffer through this for 5 seconds, 10 seconds until it's fine to swallow or chew anymore.
But sometimes you're tricked because maybe the tip of it is cold, and then once you get to the middle, it's
pizza
hot.
rolls can be misleading.
Oh, come on, that's rookie. Pizza rolls are always a flaming inferno inside of the roll.
But when are you eating pizza rolls most? When you're drunk and it's late at night, and that's when I'm making those mistakes.
But you have a cold beer next to you, right?
Usually, yeah, okay. Which always helps.
As long as it's ice, as long as the beer is it's not lukewarm, you're fine. You want to take that risk, Alex? That's you. I'm going to foof, and I'm going to be able to enjoy them because I don't want. If I'm going to have 10 pizza rolls, I don't want to lose 2 on the fact that my upper part of my tongue and the top part of my mouth is burning and blistering because of the fact that I erroneously ate a couple of pizza rolls because I was worried about not worrying about the hotness that is inside the roll.
Yeah. So I think Jesus is going to be patient. Jesus gets it. He's going to be patient on that. So I think that is he's a guy that's going to sit down. He's going to wait the 5 minutes or however long. And Jesus probably knows when it's ready to eat. That's probably one of the perks of being Jesus. You're just that pizza roll is perfect right now.
There's nothing that's going to surprise him. He will not be surprised by wind and rain and thunder or the hotness inside of a pizza roll.
Yeah. So I think JC is going to be patient with his pizza roll on that one. That was a good question, Stephanie. Our next segment is the not cool segment. But before we do that, let me tell you guys about my good friends over at Southern Star Brewing Company, the best beer in the entire world. Matt Thomas, have you ever had a Southern Star Brewing Company beer? Have you ever had a Bombshell?
I have,
Blonde?
yes.
They're fantastic.
Don't I receive a 6-pack for joining your show tonight?
You know what? I'll bring you one tomorrow. But I have hundreds. I have hundreds of them. They set me up. They set me up over here with.
Damn! Look at that.
Southern Star takes care of us.
Too?
He's not a drinker. He's not a drinker, so.
Well, then I'll drink your 6. So make it a 9-pack.
Yeah, done. Consider it done. So Southern Star Brewing Company, right now, we've been talking about, things are starting to open up, and Southern Star is one of them. They still are offering beer to go up at 3525 North Fraser Street in Conroe. You can go up there from Thursdays from noon to 6, Fridays and Saturdays noon to 7, and Sundays noon to 6. Again, that's Thursdays noon to 6, Fridays and Saturdays noon to 7, and Sundays noon to 6. And on Fridays and Saturdays, while the beer to go times are up, they also have the outdoor bar open. They're being very sanitary. Only one-time use cups. They're using gloves. Only one person allowed at the bar at a time, and they are practicing social distancing. But you can also get your Southern Star beer at, H-E-B, Kroger, Specs, pretty much anywhere that you get beer. Get the new Bombshell Blonde. They got the blue. They have the red cans. It's an election year. It's important to go vote. Go to bombshell2020.com and decide if you want the red cans or the blue cans. Right now, I'm drinking a blue Bomby right now, and it's pretty bomb. So bombshell2020.com. Go up to Southern Star, get that beer to go. And I believe they have their Crawfish Festival also using some social distancing. They have the all-you-can-eat crawfish. You pay like $12, and it's all-you-can-eat crawfish this Saturday up at 3525 North Fraser Street in Conroe. Southern Star Brewing Company, guys, the best beer in the entire world and the official beer sponsor of Pass the Gravy. And why don't we knock out all of our ads and tell you guys also about Little M Air Fresheners, best air fresheners in the whole wide world. If you're one of the lucky ones who are shopping right now, go and get some Little M Shop products, littleemshop.com. All orders are 20% off until further notice when you use our code HOMEBODY at checkout. And as always, there's free shipping when you spend $10 or more. If you're missing your friends, let them know you miss them by sending them some Little M stuff. A lot of you guys have been sending those postcards, some of the air fresheners. I know they got the stickers. All that stuff's available up there. They have the air fresheners to freshen not only your car, any space you have, and they got hand-painted journals to document this super crazy time we're in, prints to decorate your new home office, and stickers to give your kids to shut them the fuck up. LittleMShop.com, 20% off with the code HOMEBODY at checkout and free shipping on orders of $10 or more. LittleMShop.com, LittleEMShop.com, our official air freshener sponsor of Pass the Gravy podcast. All right. That's the ads. And now let's move on to the Not Cool segment. And we got an intro for you guys right now.
Not cool, man. Dude, that's not cool. Not cool. Not cool. Dude, that's not cool. Not cool, man. Dude, that's not cool. Not cool. Not cool. Dude, that's not cool. Not cool. Not cool.
This segment is the Not Cool segment. Now, it is pretty much just when I started this podcast many moons ago, it was just a way for me to help fill an hour. And I was like, I don't know. Like, you know, you run out of stuff when you're trying to fill time. You know how it is trying to fill for hours on hours on hours. And we were trying to just get to 1 hour, and I was not very good at it. So I was just like, I'm just going to vent about random stuff that happens to me every single week. And that's kind of how it began. And Not Cool can be you stub your toe when you're getting up to use the restroom at night on the bed, or, you know, somebody stabs you. All of those are under the umbrella of Not Cool. So I'll lead off, and mine's a pretty dumb one, but like, mine is just the last 2 days I've had breakfast, I forgot, and then I had lunch that I was going to bring to work in the refrigerator and just forgot it both days. And I have a little whiteboard that I have my keys on right by my door when I leave my apartment. I leave reminders on it. Didn't look at the reminder at all, just walked out and then got to work. And like, you never miss food more than when you're like, I should have brought that today. And just forgetting food at work. Like I can buy food at our office. It's not too bad, but just like I had leftover Plucker's wings that I was really looking forward to, and just not being able to have those for lunch today kind of sucked. So that's my Not Cool. It's a minor Not Cool, but it sucked.
Mine is very minor as well. I record old NBA games on the NBA TV channel. They call them Hardwood Classics. 80% of them I'm not interested in because they're just like LeBron and Golden State games and Kevin Durant. I've seen every one of those in myself.
Yeah.
I really love watching early Magic, early Larry Bird, early Michael Jordan, some stuff in the 70s. And I had this great collection of 4 or 5. There was one game in the mix I didn't particularly care about, like Steph Curry in 2015. So I thought I'd go to the DVR and I would erase that. I erased the entire series.
Oh, dude. That is the worst. That's the worst. I did that with Better Call Saul.
Little things, but I was looking forward to diving into 5 hours of old school basketball, and I got 0 instead.
Yeah, and then you can't really like I did it with a TV show, so you can kind of go and just watch on-demand stuff or watch it on whatever the app is. But with that, like, you can't just go like, what are all the hardwood classics? That is a really good Not Cool. It's just super inconvenient.
So that wasn't cool. My wife loved it because she likes to see the percentages on our DVR stay above 70. So it went from like 61 to 71. So she was happy. Meanwhile, I was cussing at myself.
Yeah, that's a really good Not Cool. Bobby, what do you got?
So mine's also a minor one too. It's just here in Houston, it's starting to get really hot no matter what time of day it is. And that's, you walk outside for 5 minutes. I like taking walks. So I go short walks, maybe 20 minutes, and I'm drenched by the time I come back. And it's just annoying. I
took the dog out yesterday, and like yesterday was the first day this year that I was like, yep, it's Houston hot again. I took the dog out and it was just like, I feel like I need to change my shirt. Like it was like I was in a sauna when I came back in, but that's a good one. So just get ready for the heat. And also, Pat, you can't use heat on Wednesday now. So just FYI. I know Pat's going to use that. He works in a restaurant in the back of the restaurant all the time, so he's always like sweating, and that's always a good Not Cool for Pat. All right, that was our not cool segment. We got one last one. If you're cool to hang around with us, it is our answer segment. Now, when I was in third grade at Farr Elementary in Miss Winter's class, I remember her telling us, "Class, there's no such thing as a stupid question." And I instantly raised my hand because I was nervous. I was like, "Is my question dumb? I don't know." But I raised my hand and asked it. I don't remember what I asked, but it was probably school related, I would guess. And I got laughed at. And I remember telling myself, hey, man, one day when you're in charge, you're not going to judge people for their questions. Now, they can have stupid questions, but like there's no stupid questions in the answers segment. So if you have, any question you think might be dumb, any question at all, maybe it's a high thought, something you think of while you're in the shower, you see it on a billboard, you see it on the internet, maybe it's a meme or something that you want to ask us in question form. Hit us up. Hashtag PTG Answers at Pass the Gravy Pod on Twitter. I'm at Alex J. Middleton. Robert is at Robert Barbosa03. And Matt Thomas is at SportsMT on Twitter. Use the hashtag PTG Answers at Pass the Gravy Pod. Or if you're not on the Twitter, use our email answers at passthegravypod.com. This is the Answers segment.
Well, if you just answered the question, why don't you just answer the question? Be honest, no big deal. Yeah, answer the question.
Don't change the subject, just answer the fucking question. It's like, why must we answer the question?
Any questions?
Our first question comes from Josh Posados at Josh_Posados on Twitter. And he says, in today's society, is it still okay to be intolerant of lactose? I mean, we are getting very like Adele just had that whole thing where we were like, man, she looks good. And it's like, you can't talk about it's fat shaming by saying she looks good, that she's skinny. And then it was like, is that skinny shaming? Is that a thing? Like, it is like everything is shaming if you're calling somebody out on it. So it's like, I'm lactose intolerant. Like maybe it's time to just get over it, figure it out. Why do you hate milk so much?
I'm going to respond with an equally dumb question. Should gluten be free anymore?
I don't know. That is a very valid question. I think maybe, I'm down for everything to be free. We're in a free country. Gluten should always be free, but
how cool is the person that you met? Hi, my name is John. I'm lactose intolerant and I'm gluten free.
Oh man, their mom makes their own trail mix. Like that was like, if that's
would you just want to go shoot the shit with somebody like that? How much fun would that guy be? Whoever that person may be.
Yeah, like, hey, you want to go get a beer? No, I can't. Is that gluten in it? I don't know. Maybe. Like, I don't know what has gluten in it. I know bread, I think, does.
Well, all I'm saying is, if you're gluten free and lactose intolerant, you need to be.
And then allergic to
the
seafood.
Nicest person in the world.
Yeah. There's people like my brother dated a vegetarian or a vegan one time, and it was like she was cool for a little bit, but it was like, all right, we can't go to Benihana with you without you fucking up our order right now. Like, just figure it out.
Yeah, we have a good friend of ours that doesn't like meat on any sort of bone and hates seafood.
Oh no.
We love her, and she's a great person, but it does prohibit the amount of opportunities for us to enjoy a meal outside of our own home, because when we go out to eat, there's a strict list of parameters that are in place. So it makes going out to eat rather difficult. But so again, if you have a list of what you are, some of it medically, some of it you just choose on your own, just be a cool person.
Yeah.
Really nice.
Yeah, you got to be super cool. Super cool. Maybe buy an extra round of drinks for everybody,
Like, for instance, Alex, and you got a girl. I'm married. I don't know if Bobby's got a girl or not, but if you're all that, you better be hot.
Yeah. Yeah, you never really see like a big vegan, do you?
Well, I'm just saying, it's going to be an issue. You're just not, like, for instance, Alex, if you're with a hot girl, and which you are, you've got a beautiful
Obviously, yeah.
And it's 2:30 in the morning, and you just are hungry. Maybe you've had something to relax
10 or 12. Yeah.
Whatever. And you are craving a Whataburger in the worst way. Double meat, double cheese,
Dude.
Fries, chocolate shake. All the things you shouldn't be. And that girl who's not hot comes to you and says, I can't eat any of that. You got to dump the bitch.
Yep. Sorry, you're out. You're missing this one.
But if she says all those things, but she's super hot, rubs your back at night, makes you breakfast of food she can't eat, but you can, you got to marry her.
Yeah. Okay. 100%. 100%. That is fair. That is fair. But back to the question. That's actually like, yeah, I think that should be like a law. Like if she makes you the bacon and she doesn't eat bacon, then it's like, you gotta wife that up right away. It's like, I'm sorry. Like, here you go. Let's go. Let me call your dad. This is our second date, but whatever. Let's call her dad. And she's cooking you breakfast for dinner. That's why it's your second date, because you went over her house. She didn't stay over there. We're classy kind of guys here on Passive.
Correct.
So I would say it's not okay to be intolerant of lactose anymore. Just like, let's just be tolerant of all things.
Correct.
You don't have to indulge in it.
Sorry, let's not judge. Let's only judge political philosophies and your income and your clothing, not your medical condition.
Yeah, just those few things. Okay, let's go to our next question. It's from our buddy Brandon Whitehead at Brando Whitehead on Twitter. And he says, what is the abbreviation for abbreviation?
ABV?
It's that either ABB or ABBR, but I think ABB.
Yeah, it feels like you can answer that question on Google. This is not a speculation question.
Hey, we said there's no
a
such thing as a
definitive
stupid question. You send it to us. We figured out. Sometimes we do Google it, but I'm not going to right now.
Google.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's ABBR. That's where I would
right
come
now.
about.
Abbreviation.
Maybe you throw the V in there too sometimes. Maybe like ABBR.
Because you can't go like ABV because that's alcohol by volume.
Hmm.
AB is ab. I just think like ABBR. It's like, all right, like what else? What else would ABBR be short for? Abracadabra? No, that's one B maybe in the way that I'm thinking of it.
Oh, come on. There's got to be a definitive answer to this, right?
8 abbreviations for abbreviation. AB abbreve, ABBR, ABB. Yeah, this gives me like 9 different things.
Then that, and honestly, that's a question that should have been asked to you. That guy could have just Googled it right away. He just wants to get into your
there
zone.
is no such thing as a stupid question. Send in anything you get. I said we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to tell you what we think. It may not be the right answer.
I didn't think it was stupid. I just thought it was one of those situations where he could have answered it, but he wanted to get his past the gravy run, and he got it. So congratulations to him.
Yeah, it works. That's what they love doing that, and we bite on it every single time. So like, if y'all want, this is another thing we did when I couldn't fill an hour. I was like, just ask me weird questions, and I'll figure out these things, and that'll be a half an hour, Okay. So I think like, are we going to settle on ABBR?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. I like
There's
it.
nothing really else it could be short for. Then let's go to our next question from Andrew Nelson emailed in. Andrew says, how long is too long to reach out to an imaginary friend? Any length of time, maybe?
I was thinking 1 day.
Or no, is it long? And I don't think it can be long enough. Like at a certain point, you got to be like, hey, dude, like you're not real. We got to get out of here.
Yeah, I think it's age.
There's a Russell Crowe movie about this.
Yeah, I don't have any imaginary friends at this age, but I would say I had quite a collection in the age of 12, which is probably a little too late. I should have actually had real friends by then. So it depends on how deep the relationships are, how old you are, and how mature you are.
Have you ever thought about reaching out to them? Like I wonder what so-and-so's up to.
We've got a reunion coming up in the summer. So yeah,
Okay,
we'll
that's
reunion
good.
the imaginary friends.
So then I guess it can't be too long. It's always good to just check up. And especially like now we're in a pandemic, so you get the bye. You're like, dude, is everything okay? Just wanted to check up on you.
Now, here's the question. Do you do a Zoom meeting with these people? Or do you just like pick up the phone? Do you text? Do you go to IG?
I think you got to do
you
Zoom.
try to find them on Snapchat? I mean, what form of social media are you using in order to find these people?
I'd like to see a Zoom meeting with like somebody and their 4 imaginary friends, and it's just like empty backgrounds on the other ones. I think Zoom would be the best way.
And do the imaginary friends on Facebook say the relationship, it's complicated? I mean, is that where you go on that?
Now, I think they would. And you're bringing up also like our Facebook friends. Some Facebook friends I feel like are imaginary friends. They're not really my friend. Like they're just like, I'm like, okay, yeah, you're on my Facebook. Same with Twitter. So like maybe.
How many imaginary friends do you have on Twitter right now?
Well, like I don't know. Like I don't know everybody on Twitter, and sometimes I feel like like you just randomly like follow people, and I'm like, yeah, whatever. Like I haven't talked to this person in a while. I unfollow people a lot, where I'm just like, I don't interact with you, and I have like,
yeah,
I don't.
Basically, 2020, the internet Twitter bot is like a new version of imaginary friend because that person doesn't exist, but you can still have a relationship. So I will say this: I probably have a few bots, as do you.
Yeah.
So we do have imaginary friends. We just don't know who they are.
So it's never too late to reach out to an imaginary friend.
No. The answer to the question is never too late.
Especially if they follow you on Twitter at SportsMT, at PassGravyPod, at Alex J. Middleton, at Robert Barbosa03. Make sure you're following us all on Twitter. And then if you follow us because of this episode, let us know. And just know that we are not imaginary friends. We will be actual friends if you tell us that you followed us from this episode.
We'll like a lot of your tweets.
I'll like so many of your tweets.
Yeah.
An uncomfortable amount.
And you'll be like, I wish I didn't follow this guy.
I'm like 3 years ago.
I'll go to your very first tweet and like that. That happens to me a lot, and I feel like that is a bot thing to do, where it's like some random person I don't have any clue who they are. It's like, that was a tweet from like 3 weeks ago. Where are you finding this? Like there was no thread. How'd that come up?
You got a lot of time in your hands, don't you?
I do. I love Twitter. Twitter, like it's the most toxic of all the social medias, but it's my favorite. It's just like it's watching like a car crash over and over. You're just like, all right, let's see how this goes. I get lost in threads on Twitter, just watching people fight over stuff that I don't even care about.
Right.
And it's like, all right, well, there goes 20 minutes of my life. That was cool. I'm glad I watched that. Let's move on to our next question, though. We got this is from Dave T at PPWL1 on Twitter. And Dave says, if you throw a stick and your dog brings it back, which is the boomerang, the dog, the stick, or both? This is a little thing that we one of the things that we've kind of made popular on, or not popular, it's just a recurring question that people ask us. Now, we said a couple of months ago on the podcast, maybe it was a year ago or so, that anything you throw is a boomerang. Whether or not it's a good boomerang, that depends on whether it comes back to you or not. Like if you throw this book, it's a pretty shitty boomerang. It's not going to come back to you. Now, wind can help it be a better boomerang, but anything you throw is a boomerang. Just it depends on if it comes back. Also, if you put a handle on anything, it's a ladle. Whether or not it's a good ladle or not, that's up for debate. But it's, in fact, a ladle. So he's asking us if the dog is the boomerang or the stick is the boomerang, or both. I don't think the dog would be the boomerang because you don't throw the dog, right? You have to physically throw it. So the stick would definitely be the.
And there's also no guarantee the dog started out where it began. So we know where the stick began in your right or left hand. We don't know where the dog began.
So
that's an easy one.
The stick is easily the boomerang. That was a good question, though. It's a good question, though. And then our final question comes from our girl, Cassie J, the Squatch God. We don't know why she's the Squatch God. She won't tell us, but she emails us a lot and asks us awesome questions that we get to ask last. And her question this week is floaties. Steroids for babies? I mean, it's kind of like it is a performance enhancer. Like a baby would probably.
But here's the problem with that. There are negative effects of steroids. There's no negative effect of wearing a floaty. Even a grown-ass man or a woman can wear a floaty, and there's no detriment to wearing it unless you're just in a competitive swimming race. Other than that, they're only going to help you.
Are they? But like, just because they don't hurt you, maybe it's the healthiest steroid of all.
No, they're just training wheels for the pool.
Training.
I would not call them steroids.
Ooh, I like that. They're pool training wheels. That's way better.
And again, you as an adult could still use them. You look a little bizarre. Like, the three-wheeler motorcycles you see out there. Those aren't real motorcycles, but you kind of get the feel of it.
That's like you couldn't get a Harley because you weren't really confident enough. So you were like, I want the Roadster thing. I'm going to get that.
Yeah. But floaties are more than acceptable. I've never seen anybody over the age of, say, 9 wear them, but I wouldn't judge if somebody at 49 was wearing them. Life
jackets are really just adult floaties if you think about it.
And they save lives, especially if you had a couple of cocktails on the boat, for sure.
They do, yeah.
I don't want to speak for Pass the Gravy, but I think you guys are 100% behind life jackets.
We are actually one of the most pro-Life Vest podcasts out there.
Very good.
We're anti-Nazi. We're pro women's rights. We ended the wage gap. Did you know that? If you buy anything on PassTheGravyMerch.com, all women's material is $1 off because, fixed the wage gap right there. So you're welcome, ladies. I don't think I needed a medal or anything, but I'm helping you out here. I'm on your side. And then now we are a very pro that podcast. So there we go. I guess that's it. That's all our questions. That's all our questions we got. That's it. Wait, hold on. Okay, never mind. My Zoom is acting up on me right now. But I appreciate you coming on at Sports MT. Listen to him on the Matt Thomas Show, weekdays noon to 3 p.m. on Sports Talk 790 in Houston. If you're not in Houston, download that iHeartRadio app and listen then. And make sure you give him a follow. Tell him you heard him on Pass the Gravy. And then he'll be like, okay, maybe I'll come on Pass the Gravy more. Maybe he'll let us, like, guest PA maybe. Just if you're feeling under the weather, just I'll come in and I'll fill in. That's
great. I wouldn't get crazy on that. I do have one question for you to wrap up to the show today.
Okay.
Is it past the cream gravy or is it past the brown gravy?
It's up to the viewer or listener or reader's decision. What would it be to you?
Well, I'm from Detroit, so I grew up on brown. I do appreciate the cream. So I'm going to go past all the gravy.
Pass all the gravy. Yeah, because we're accepting of all. So pass all the gravy, you bitches.
With so much drama in the LBC, it's kind of hard to Snoop Deal Double G, but I somehow, somewhere keep coming up with funky ass shit like every single day. Man.